I love my sister, but living with her? That's a whole different story. Here's why I had to draw the line. I, 32F, currently live with my husband, 37M, in a 2-floor house in the suburbs that is big enough for both of us and also to house lots of guests if needed. 7 years ago, when I was 25, I lost my one and only soulmate, my best friend. She was my world and my rock, and everything made sense around her. I could talk about her all day, but that would take too long to write down, and I would probably break down in tears anyway. After she passed away due to a horrible freak accident, I fell into a depression that led to me drinking away my feelings. This completely altered my life for the worse. I lost my apartment, my friends, my family, and my life. I had absolutely no one, and my parents were so ashamed of me that they refused to let me live with them. And my sister? She claimed she was living in an apartment that was way too small and that she couldn't house me. I ended up being hopeless and desperate for a long time. 6 years and a million AA meetings later, I am now fully sober with a kid on the way. I never kept contact with my family after what happened. Instead, I focused on myself and met the love of my life. Fast forward to a month ago, my sister found my new number via an old friend and contacted me asking if she could stay at my house for a while. She had lost her job and had been through a tough divorce and lost her house as well. She had apparently sold the house my parents bought her to live with her partner and later lost the house due to the divorce. Obviously, I refused, reminding her of how she treated me in the past. Last week, my parents and my sister somehow found my address and came to my house demanding to let my sister stay here. My sister defended her past actions by revealing that she found out she was pregnant after my best friend passed away but never wanted to tell me due to the fact that I was grieving. She also didn't want me to stay at her place because she was scared that I would somehow push her into also being an alcoholic and harm her kid. She said that her situation is different now because she already has kids, that her ex-husband has custody of, and that she wants to get her life together and needs my help. After a long discussion, things were getting heated and I had to call the police. I am now thinking of filing a restraining order against them, but my husband is telling me to let my rage go and help my family. I honestly don't know what to do. I already feel super stressed whilst pregnant and have hormones jumping out of my ears, so that may also be the reason for me being extra angry. I need someone's opinion on this situation who doesn't know me, and I'm hoping for some advice. Comment 1, NTA. Explain to your husband. You and your sister do not have a good relationship, despite the circumstances above. Allowing her and her kids in your home will bring drama and misery. Your sobriety cannot take the strain. You do not want the toxicity around your marriage and child. Comment 2. Exactly. OP has every right to protect her peace and her progress. She's worked so hard to rebuild her life, and throwing herself into a situation with someone who's already shown she can't be trusted isn't fair. It's not just about saying no to her sister, it's about saying yes to her own stability and safety. Comment 3. Why isn't your sister moving in with your parents? NTA, you have a lot of your plate getting ready to welcome your newest family member, and there's no way I would want a guest underfoot while trying to get through the early days of motherhood. Anyone who would deny you a room when you were so down and out most probably isn't going to step up and be helpful while you are recovering from childbirth. Your sister would be a hindrance, not a help. Share your thoughts below in comments, please. Short story 2. Hi, I, 21F, and my partner, 21M, got into an argument today, and I'm unsure if I was in the wrong. We were on an Instagram video call, me doing chores, him playing League of Legends, when the call randomly ended. I tried to call him back and texted to ask if something was wrong. He responded a minute later saying his phone overheated. Since Discord could work from his PC, I called him there instead. A few minutes into the Discord call, I asked him something, and he snapped, "What do you want from me right now?" in a frustrated tone. I was taken aback and responded, "I'm sorry?" He then raised his voice with a sharp "what?" clearly irritated. I got upset and told him not to speak to me like that and to call me when he'd calmed down. Then I hung up. We exchanged a few texts afterward, mainly me asking him to communicate better when he's overwhelmed or needs space. We're both introverts and like solo time, but we also enjoy coexisting on calls since we don't live together, and I'm the only one with regular access to a car. He replied that I don't need to call him constantly when he said his phone overheats on Instagram, and while he has mentioned the overheating, we usually communicate if we need to switch platforms or end a call more gently. What hurt me most wasn't the phone issue but how he spoke to me. I've never seen him direct that kind of tone at me before, it's usually at other players while gaming. It made me feel like I was a burden, which hurt a bit due to past abusive relationships and family dynamics, both of which he knows about. I know he probably didn't mean to hurt me, but he didn't try to express what he was feeling, just snapped. This also isn't the first time League of Legends has caused problems. He regularly gets agitated while playing, and we've talked about the impacts before, and even he has acknowledged how it affects his mood. I've been thinking I want to ask him to stop playing League when he's in my space or while we're on call, since I'm tired of being on the receiving end of his frustration and feeling like I'm competing with a video game for his attention, which feels silly, but it's become a real issue. For context, he has plenty of other games on Steam that he plays solo or with friends, and I love seeing him enjoy those. Sometimes I even join in. The issue really only comes up with League, and it's been a pattern since the beginning of our relationship. What do you think about this story? Comment 1. It's not unusual to be short and direct talk when playing intense games, the game coordination demands it. When intercepted by RL conversation, it's easy to continue the direct talk, which comes off as rude. Likely that is what is happening, and he may not even realize it's happening. Talk with him about it, he may be able to control it, or just have him let you know when he's playing LOL so you know not to interrupt him. He may choose to not play anymore, but that is unlikely as he seems to enjoy it. Comment 2. NTA. Competitive games like League of Legends has a way of making people into the absolute worst versions of themselves. A competitive video game isn't just a toxic video game, it is also the video game equivalent of a narcotic drug. And almost no one enjoys League of Legends, not even the players who excel at it. Comment 3. It can be annoying to be in a relationship with a gamer if they spend most of their non-working hours on it, but it's also annoying to be with someone who wants to talk on the phone all the time. How often do you see each other? How often do you talk on the phone? Unless I'm long distance from someone, I don't really want phone calls to just chit-chat that are over 10 or 15 minutes. You sound a little needy. Story 3. Why does the window seat feel like the throne of the plane? Today, I'm risking it all. And asking for it. Earlier this week I, 40F, was on a flight from LA to San Francisco. After I boarded the flight and was comfortably settled into my window seat in premium economy, I got a notification that my seat had been upgraded to first class, seat 4F, another window seat. I gathered my stuff and got up to move, trying to work quickly because I assumed it was an overbooked flight and someone had been given my original seat. As I made my way to the front, along with another guy who had been upgraded from coach, the flight attendant, 35F or so, told us to take any open seat. The guy, 65M or so, who had been upgraded from an R seat, took the window seat. I asked the flight attendant, in what I thought was a quiet voice, if I could have my assigned window seat. I explained that I'm a very nervous flyer and prone to nausea if I'm not next to a window. She said no because they were about to close the door. For context, I don't mean to be high maintenance, but I witnessed a small plane crash as a kid and I've been scared of flying ever since. I work with a therapist on how to deal with it, since I need to travel a couple times per month for my job, and my coping method is Xanax plus a window seat. When I'm scared, my stomach churns. I don't love it. But it's what happens. The guy in the window seat overhears and gets up to give me the seat, but instead of doing it with kindness, he rolls his eyes and loudly sneers. I've never heard of anyone throwing up because they're not in a window seat. At this point I'm super embarrassed, and don't want to sit next to this guy, so I said, "Oh, this is clearly going to be a thing, can I just have my original seat back?" Luckily the seat was still open, so I sat back down next to the window. I truly didn't care about not sitting in first class. It's a short flight. The interaction has been bothering me for days though. Was I the R? Am I an entitled person in the eyes of the other passengers? Was the guy, the flight attendant, for not just asking us to sit in our assigned seats? Comment 1. NTA. You were discreet and respectful, and those involved lacked care and compassion. You did what was best for you in the end. Maybe you want to file a grievance with the airline about how the attendant handled it, but that is your call. Comment 3. NTA. But personally I would have parked my scrawny ass in the first-class seat and ignored Mr. Weiner. The flight attendant's first responsibility at that moment was to make sure the plane could depart as planned, so I don't fault her at all. Comment 3. NTA. Never heard of a flight where you're told to sit wherever, unless it's Southwest? It's not a bus. They do log where passengers are seated. Your boarding pass has the seat number on it. So right off the bat this is the flight attendant's fault. Also, I wouldn't want to sit next to a guy who was already behaving that way. And we all know his boarding pass doesn't have the window seat. So doubly rude on his part to react that way. Story 4. I'm so upset and I do not know if I'm in the wrong. I'm 27F. My father passed away of cancer back in 2018, when I was 20. Last weekend, my mother remarried. I get along well enough with her new husband. He's a cool guy in general, treats me and my mother well. He also has a 13-year-old daughter from a previous relationship, as he's been married and divorced his ex. They have a 50-50 custody split of their daughter. During the wedding on Saturday, everyone had fun. I even shed some tears of joy for my mom. But Sunday, something shifted. My cousin asked if I am going to call my mom's new husband Dad. I obviously said no. I already had a dad and was a fully grown woman by the time he came into my mother's life. After that comment, my mother and her sister pulled me aside and started yelling at me to stop bringing up my father in front of her new husband because he's jealous of a dead man. His ex is alive and they see each other every other weekend to pass the kid, but he's jealous of a dead man? I basically told them to get off me. That I do not do it deliberately, but my father had been my father for 20 years and naturally I bring him up sometimes in passing. Especially to my younger cousin who was only 7 when my dad passed away and barely remembers him. My aunt went into a whole tangent how my dad was important to me but is not important to anybody else anymore and I should let go and move on instead of talking about him because everyone else is. That, in turn, made me cry and I didn't speak to either of them for the rest of the day. Comment 1. NTA. This is straight up despicable behavior from your mother and aunt. No one gets to tell you to stop talking about your father, ever. Are you sure this is actually coming from the new husband? Or is it just coming from your mother? Regardless, it's disgusting to try and make you shut up, and even Moresso to say no one cares about your father. If your mother ever loved your father, she'd never allow that to be said. I wouldn't be able to look my mother in the eye again if I were in your position. Comment 2. NTA. What the actual F? This is crazy and anyone saying you should forget your dad because he's dead is loony. I am curious what your stepfather has to say about this. If he dies, does he want his child to forget about him? Comment 3. NTA. Did your mom marry that man with the understanding that he would be your dad and you would never mention your dad? I hope you don't live there and live on your own. You should ask mom for the pictures before they are destroyed. Share your thoughts below before going, please.